like fucking shot
Yeah.
out as like this slimy sort of like rebirthed meat sack. And then obviously getting into the existential crisis of that, of if this guy can constantly be reborn, people aren't going to treat him like, they're going to dehumanize him. They're going to treat him like just like some like weird tool that doesn't have any humanity to him. And his experience of that, I think, is when this movie is at its strongest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like that's the thing, is he really hones in on the physicality of everything that's going on. Obviously, because it's really just a movie about the human body being used as a tool over and over and over again. And so having the details of like when a body is being printed, and every once in a while the camera will actually pan over to the window of like the second half of where you don't see the fully formed body. You'll actually see like the guts and the intestines and stuff being put together through the machine. And like he really hones in on that, and then to the point of like slapstick as well, where once that body is fully formed, and you'd think that these coworkers and these fellow human beings would want to take care of Mickey and the body that they're also going to be used as a military tool. They don't. They like most of the time they're showing the coworkers or the scientists working in the lab like looking at their phones or playing a video game or listening to music or watching TV or just talking to each other and not paying attention.
And the only time they talk to him, asking him what it's like to die, which just pisses him off, because they think that he's going to give them like some like awesome answer of like, oh, it's like so beautiful and you feel like you've gone to the other side. And when for him, it's just like, no, every single time I'm scared shitless, and then I get rendered into a fucking meat sack, like shooting fluids out of my body, and it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And I hate it.
Yeah. And then one part that I love, and it's such a simple gag, but I love it's why it's so funny, is when they accidentally don't put the bed out where the body is going to be laid out once it's printed. And so the guy's just kind of like has headphones on and he's just like looking at his phone or whatever. And the body is like halfway out the machine until it finally just hits the ground and flops over.
Pattinson's just flopping over. I will say that I like maybe about 90% of why this worked for me is Robert Pattinson.
I agree.
I think his performance as Mickey 17 and also Mickey 18, who is the one that gets printed after him. And for anyone who is unfamiliar with like the trailer or the premise, is like the whole point is there ends up being two of them, because they think that Mickey 17 died. So they print out Mickey 18, but it turns out that he didn't. And he ends up getting saved by like the creatures on this like frozen tundra planet. And then all of a sudden he has to deal with the existence of there's two of me. And very briefly, there's a section of the movie, which is maybe my favorite section of the movie, which is when he has to deal with the fact that there's two of them and how he's going to try to live his life with his friends and maybe with his, his sexual relationships and how he's going to somehow get out of this situation. And there's the two personalities. There's like the dorky and kind of pathetic Mickey, or you could say the nice Mickey, the sentimental Mickey. And then there is like the almost psychopathically pathological Mickey, who's Mickey 18. And Robert Pattinson is playing both performances in a dual performance quite well. But also it's the physicality of Robert Pattinson. It's the fact that he plays one with the hunched shoulders and he plays one with like the confidence, the suave confidence. It's the fact that he'll do something incredibly absurd, like flop his way out of a printing machine like covered in slime or something like that. Like Robert Pattinson is obviously, he is a movie star. He's an incredibly attractive man. I have always loved how willing he is to put his looks and put his physicality on the line for a performance. I mean, people realize that, I think, when they watched A Good Time.
Yeah,
definitely. And they were like, this is one of the skeeziest guys I've ever seen on film. And it's played by like the guy who,
Twilight.
From fucking Twilight, who was literally the picture perfect polish of what like a YA romance vampire, he was a teen heartthrob.
Yeah, he was the teen pop magazine heartthrob. Exactly. Like, and now you're watching him die brutal deaths 17 times. And I mean, we've been through this. We've talked about High Life. You mentioned Good Times, stuff like that. So like he's been doing this, which is great. And anyone that hasn't discovered Pattinson's last 10, 15 years, you absolutely need to go check it out. He has been doing some great work.
But here, similar to what we were just saying with Takeshi Kitano, like he's really putting like he's making himself like look uncool. And he's making himself like really gross and pathetic and going through this horrible experience that makes you kind of like, I think for Mickey 17, it does make it feel like sensitive. It makes you feel bad for him, but like you kind of pity him.
Oh, for sure. I think with 17 too, like they on purposely kind of start with 17, at least in the premise, before they go back and they show you like the previous deaths. And what they do is they start it with that partner of his who played by, is it Steven Yeun, I believe? Mm-hmm. Stephen Yeun, who I love seeing. That's great. I like Steven a lot.
Mr. Burning himself.
Yes, excellent. Great movie.
So good in Nope too. Actually, he's a great actor.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's been killing it. And it starts with him like they clearly have like a friendship of some kind, some type of established relationship. And he comes down when this Mickey 17 has been like he's fallen into a chasm and he's trapped. And the guy is like going down. He's like, you know what? I could get you, man, but honestly, it's like it's a risk for me, and it would take a lot of extra time. And they're gonna reprint you anyway, so you're cool if I just like keep you down here, right? And he's been so like just been so broken down at this point that he's just kind of like, yeah, I guess, man, like, okay, like I understand. But you can tell that at this point he's starting to kind of question his place and his relationships. This version of him is not going to make that decision. Well, maybe eventually, but by the time we get to the finale and everything.
Yeah.
Because
the idea of him being dehumanized and so expendable is something that really does start to frustrate the character. It reminded me of like the absurdist sci-fi version of how those characters start to feel in like Wages of Fear, where it's like they serve the company and they serve the job, and there's nothing. Who cares about who they are as people? Even though Mickey is like, I'm like a guy. Like I used to be your friend and we used to like get into shenanigans, and like you're actually part of the reason I had to take this gig in the first place, because Steven Yeun is like he's the one who convinced him to do like start some